I was just an ordinary guy, but Ava trampled all over my dignity, humiliated me endlessly, and treated me like a joke. Fate and a system forced me to endure it for 5 years, turning that shame into my strength. It was only at the end that I understood. The one who deserved judgment wasn't me, for loving so desperately, but her, for crushing a sincere heart. On our wedding day, Ava never showed up. I called her, but a man answered the phone. "Ava's in the shower. What do you want?" I didn't say a word. I just hung up. 5 years of my life, over just like that. A notification from the system popped into my head. My mission as her doormat was complete. I happily started packing my things, ready to leave. Ava, her eyes red and swollen, grabbed my arm and begged, "Don't you love me? Can we please start over?" I just laughed. Start over? Even a dog would know better. I was Ava Sterling's doormat for 5 long years. Maybe in a moment of weakness, she actually agreed to marry me. But when the day finally came, she was a no-show. The wedding planner pulled me aside. "James, where's Miss Sterling? The bride can't just stand up her own wedding. How am I supposed to continue with the program?" The venue in Napa Valley was her choice. The entire ceremony was planned to her specifications. She told me her parents divorced when she was a kid, and she wasn't close with any relatives, so she only wanted my family and friends there. She also said she was a career woman and couldn't stand people making cheesy toasts about growing old together or having kids soon. She made me promise to tell my parents to keep their opinions to themselves, and I did. I spent months planning this wedding, coordinating everything with my family. But to her, it was all just a game. She clearly didn't care, and it felt like she wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone I knew. I quickly apologized to the planner, forcing a smile and slipping him a 50. "I'm so sorry. I'll call her right now." I rushed into the back room and dialed her number, only for a man to pick up. "Ava's in the shower." "It's our wedding day," I seethed. On the day she was supposed to marry me, Ava was taking a shower at some other guy's place. A shower in the middle of the afternoon? I knew exactly what that meant. My anger boiled, my fists clenching until my knuckles cracked. I forced myself not to picture it. "This is James," I said, my voice tight. "Put Ava on the phone." There was a pause on the other end. "Hold on." A moment later, Ava's lazy voice drifted through the line. "What's up?" "It's our wedding day, Ava." "You're not here," I said flatly. She paused, then burst out laughing. "The wedding? Oh, James, I was just messing with you. You didn't actually take that seriously, did you?" I fought to keep my voice even. "But you promised. And it's not just me, my parents, all our friends, the planner, they're all here waiting. You can't just call it a joke and cancel everything. I asked you over and over if you were serious, and every time you said you were." Her laughter died down, replaced by an impatient sigh. "James, stop being so dramatic. Do you really think I'd joke about something as serious as marriage?" I was being dramatic? Who was the one playing games? I struggled to stay calm, swallowing my rage. "At least show your face. Just for a few minutes, for appearances." Ava's patience finally snapped, her voice turning sharp as glass. "James, you've been simping for me for 5 years. Haven't you figured it out yet, right?" I'd almost forgotten. In her eyes, I was just her pathetic on-call doormat, foolishly hoping that one day she'd actually choose me. I didn't say another word. I just ended the call and slowly slid my phone into my pocket. At that exact moment, a chime echoed in my mind. 5-year term fulfilled. Programmet full. Doormat mission complete. Option 1. Remain by Ava's side and forfeit all rewards. Option 2. Leave Ava immediately and claim all rewards. Please make your selection. I didn't hesitate for a single second. My finger jabbed at the air. I choose to claim my rewards. I'm leaving Ava. By the time Ava got home from wherever she'd been, my things were already gone. She called my name a few times. When she realized the apartment was empty, she stood frozen for a moment before slamming her purse onto the sofa. She pulled out her phone and called me. "James, what is this?" she demanded, her voice dripping with annoyance. "Are you seriously throwing a fit just because I missed the wedding? Do you have to be so dramatic?" "I've already taken care of it," I said calmly. "You were right. Marriage isn't a game." So I canceled it. She was silent for a few seconds. "Are you mad at me?" "No. I just realized it wasn't worth it." "Not worth it?" I glanced down at the black, unlimited credit card in my hand. This was the system's reward. My voice was steady. Ava, I've had an epiphany. I have the rest of my life ahead of me, and I don't want to spend it revolving around you. Are you drunk? I've had a little, but my head has never been clearer. Where are you? I'll come get you. In 5 years, she had never once offered to pick me up or take me home. To her, our apartment was never a home, just a convenient place to stay. I remember one night, she got wasted at a bar in the East Village. I told her I'd take her home, carefully helping her into the passenger seat. She just laughed at me, her head lolling against the headrest. James, are you my little puppy? Ava, stop it. She ignored me, throwing her arms around my neck. I was caught off guard and stumbled, bracing myself against the car door. James, why don't you bark for me? I didn't respond, so she leaned in and gave me a quick, sloppy kiss. You have to be my puppy forever. Always stay by my side. When my boss, Mr. Evans, introduced me, he gave me a knowing look. I got the message and extended my hand. I look forward to working with you. Ava's mouth opened, but no words came out. She just reached out and gripped my hand, holding on so tightly it was as if she thought I'd vanish if she let go. I pulled my hand back without a second thought. Mr. Evans, ever the diplomat, chuckled to ease the tension. From a look on your face, Miss Sterling, I take it you two have met before. A flicker of something crossed Ava's face. How would she introduce me? Her ex-fiancé? Or the pathetic doormat who used to follow her around, whose name she could barely be bothered to remember? I was betting on the latter. A bitter smile touched my lips, and I spoke before she had the chance. We don't know each other. I've never had the pleasure of meeting Miss Sterling before. We have no relationship whatsoever. Ava never imagined that 3 years later, the obedient little simp who used to orbit her every move would reappear as a senior designer. She certainly never expected that the man whose world once revolved around her would now look her in the eye and coldly say, "We don't know each other." She stared at me, utterly speechless. Ms. Sterling? Ava. Mr. Evans had to call her name twice before she snapped out of it, as if waking from a dream. Throughout the rest of the design presentation, Ava didn't seem to hear a single word. She just stared at me, lost in a daze. Whenever Mr. Evans asked for her input, she'd just nod vaguely or shake her head, clearly not paying attention. After the meeting, Mr. Evans asked me to walk her down to her car. In the parking garage, I politely held the door of her Mercedes open, but she just stood there, making no move to get in. James Miller, Ava said, a bitter smile on her lips. Look at you now, doing so well for yourself. So polite, so considerate. You've gotten very good at putting on an act. I feel like there's this distance between us now. Ava, you have to be kidding me, I said. We were never close to begin with. What distance are you talking about? I gestured to the open car door again. Ava looked up at me, and for the first time, her usually icy eyes held an emotion I couldn't quite place. James, I've been looking for you for a long time, she said, finally dropping the act. Ava, let's not bring up the past, I replied. It's not a good look for me professionally. I held up my hands with a placating smile. Ava's face stiffened. She bit her lip and let out a heavy sigh. You just left without a word. I thought you were just mad at me that you'd be back. Maybe she was about to launch into an excuse for why she hadn't bothered to look for me for 3 years. Did she really think I needed an explanation? Whatever she was thinking, whatever she had done, it had absolutely nothing to do with me anymore. What you think, Miss Sterling, is your business, I said with a polite, dismissive smile. Ava fell silent again. Please, get in the car. I have a project I need to get back to. Fine. She finally relented, left with no other choice. After I dropped Ava off at her high-rise in Soho, I noticed my car was running on fumes. I pulled into a gas station on the way home, filled the tank, and ran inside to use the restroom. When I got back to my car, there was someone sitting in the passenger seat. For a second, I thought I was seeing things. The girl was wearing an expensive-looking dress, but her hair was a tangled mess, her face was smudged with dirt, and her tights were splattered with mud. I blinked, completely stunned. Excuse me, miss? I think you're in the wrong car. She looked at me with an expression of pure desperation, like I was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Her big, innocent eyes immediately welled up with tears. Mister, no, Daddy, please, you have to help me. I'm begging you, please. Unbelievable. I stopped for gas for 5 minutes, and suddenly I'm a father. I felt like I'd aged 20 years on the spot. This had to be some kind of scam. Get out of the car, I said, pointing to the door. How can you just leave me here all alone? She cried. It's dark out. I'm just a defenseless girl. What if some creep drags me into an alley and has his way with me? Could you live with that on your conscience? Just think about it. An innocent young woman calls you daddy, and you just dump her on the side of the road? The guilt will eat you alive. You'll never sleep again. Daddy. I'm calling you daddy. Was she a drama major or something? The performance was a bit much. But then again, looking at her designer dress, she had to be some kind of heiress. She just didn't have any of the typical rich girl poise. Get out, I repeated. I didn't know her from Adam. She clearly wasn't poor, so I had no reason to get involved. If she turned around and accused me of kidnapping her, there'd be no way to clear my name. I made her get out and sped off. In my rearview mirror, I could see her just standing there, looking lost. A few minutes down the road, I sighed, made a U-turn, and went back. The second she saw my car, she threw herself at me in a hug, then quickly pulled back, realizing it was a bit much. On the drive back to my place, she didn't stop talking for a second. What is my father thinking? How would he treat my marriage like some business deal? I'm the one getting married, not him. If he's so desperate for an alliance with the Thorne family, he should marry into it himself. Why is he using me as a pawn? Of course I ran. If I hadn't, I'd have been forced to marry some total stranger, like some piece of property. That old man Thorne is a monster. The second he found out I'd run, he froze all my credit cards. He might as well have cut off my oxygen. It's the only move he knows. Well, from now on, he's not my father anymore. You are. You're my new dad, my real dad. Can you just shut up? I snapped at the end of my rope. One more word, and I'm kicking you out of this car. She immediately nodded, mimed zipping her lips, and then gave me a silly smile. I had a feeling I'd just gotten myself into a world of trouble. When we got to my apartment, I told her to go take a shower. She came out wrapped in one of my bath towels, plopped down on the sofa cross-legged, and started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure while eating a bag of chips, completely unfazed by the fact that she was with a total stranger. Why aren't you dressed? I asked, averting my eyes and tossing a sweatshirt at her. My dress is ruined, and I don't have anything else to wear, she explained, blinking innocently. And at home, I just wear a robe after I shower. Rich girls really live in their own world. She was a complete opposite of Ava. This girl, Jessica, was genuinely naive. There was nothing calculating about her. No sane woman would walk around half-dressed in front of a man she just met. Ava was never that careless. She knew exactly what men wanted and was an expert at manipulation, especially with me, a guy she'd had wrapped around her finger for 5 years. She would put on a silk robe and deliberately drink red wine in front of me, swaying to some classical music. Then she'd accidentally spill the rest of her drink on me, step on my leg with her heel, and say in a low voice, "I'm tired from dancing. My feet hurt. Give me a massage." The way she looked down at me, it was clear she saw me as nothing more than her toy. She mocked me, looked down on me, and used me for her own amusement. Then she'd get dressed to the nines and go out on the arm of some other guy, leaving me behind to clean up her trashed apartment. I was such a fool back then. Don't walk around in just a towel in front of me anymore, I told Jessica. She must have heard the edge in my voice because she came over, stood on her toes, and gently smoothed the frown from my forehead with her fingers. Are you mad? I'm sorry, she said softly. Her simple gesture caught me off guard, and I felt the tension in my chest start to fade. That's right. I wasn't Ava's pet anymore. And Jessica wasn't Ava. If I really wanted to move on from Ava, I couldn't take my baggage out on Jessica. I sighed, took the sweatshirt from her, and draped it over her shoulders. It's okay. I'll take you shopping for some clothes tomorrow. Really? Yay. You're the best daddy in the world. Just so we're clear, it's a loan. You have to pay me back. You're so cheap, James. You're such a drama queen, Jessica. We looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. The next day, I took Jessica to get some lunch before we went to the mall on Fifth Avenue. We'd barely walked into Bloomingdale's when I saw her. Ava? She was holding hands with some guy. He was even dressed a little like me, and from a distance, his profile looked vaguely similar to mine. He was talking excitedly, but Ava's face was a complete blank, showing no emotion at all. To be fair, the guy wasn't bad-looking, but Ava had been with countless men over the years. With me, with all of them, she was always the one in control, treating men like accessories designed for her pleasure. But now, here she was, actually holding a guy's hand, looking like they were equals. In all the years I knew her, she'd never given any man that kind of respect. Ava spotted me and immediately snatched her hand away from the guy's, striding over with a look of pure shock on her face. But the moment her eyes landed on Jessica standing beside me, that shock faded into something that looked a lot like disappointment. "What a coincidence," Ava said, forcing a smile. She gestured toward the other guy. "Oh, him? He's just a friend. Don't get the wrong idea." The wrong idea? What was there to misunderstand? She was holding hands with him in public. Whether he was her boyfriend or just a friend, what did it have to do with me? There was nothing for me to get the wrong idea about. Jessica immediately picked up on the awkward tension. She shot me a wicked grin, linked her arm through mine, and leaned against me playfully. "You told me yesterday you'd only love me forever, and now here you are, staring at another woman. What's wrong? Am I not good enough for you? Are my boobs not big enough? James, you're such a pig." Both Ava and I froze. "You're in a relationship?" Ava demanded, her eyes fixed on me. "That's right. I'm his girlfriend," Jessica chirped before I could say a word. She looked Ava up and down. "And who are you?" "I'm his fiancé," Ava shot back instantly. "Fiancé? The nerve." That's not what she was saying when she stood me up at the altar. "His fiancé? Are you serious?" Jessica raised an eyebrow. "What kind of fiancé holds hands with another guy at the mall?" She covered her mouth with her hand, a picture of innocence. "Anyone who didn't know better might think you were cheating on him." "Oops, sorry, I'm just a little blunt. Hope you don't mind." "You?" Ava's face went pale. She completely ignored Jessica and turned her attention back to me. "James, there's something I wanted to ask you since I saw you at the office. For 3 years, you never called, you blocked my number. I never even got a chance to talk to you. How have you been?" I never thought I'd see the day Ava would make small talk like a normal person. Pigs must be flying. "I've been great, Miss Sterling. You don't need to worry about me," I said coolly, taking Jessica's hand to lead her away. But Ava reached out and grabbed the hem of my coat. "What are you doing?" "I'm taking her shopping. Could you please let go of my coat, Miss Sterling?" I tried to pull it free, but she was holding on tight. "Ava," I said again, more firmly this time. She still said nothing. My patience evaporated. "Ava, haven't you done enough?" To my complete surprise, she whispered, "Don't go." Her head was bowed, so I couldn't see her face. But then I saw a single drop hit the polished floor, then another. Were those tears? No, impossible. I let out a bitter, silent laugh. I had to be crazy to think Ava Sterling would ever cry over me. "James, please don't go. I'm begging you," she said again, her voice thick and hoarse. It was a tone I had never heard from her before, completely stripped of its usual arrogance. The guy she'd been with glanced from me to Ava, sighed, then took off the jacket that was a knockoff of mine. He unclasped a similar-looking necklace, stuffed his hands in his pockets, and walked away. Jessica, clearly fed up, decided to commit to the role. She pulled my coat off my shoulders and tossed it at Ava. "Look, I get that my boyfriend is a catch, but you can't pull this pathetic act in front of his actual girlfriend. You say you don't want him to leave now, but where were you for the last 3 years?" I was just," Ava stammered, biting her lip as if she couldn't find the words. She looked up, and her eyes met mine. I immediately looked away. "You don't need to explain anything." I put a hand on Jessica's shoulder. "Let's go, Jessica." "Okay." Jessica nodded and walked away with me without a backward glance. In that moment, Ava seemed to finally understand that I wasn't her property anymore. And just like that, the dam broke. Tears streamed down her face. After we'd walked a few feet, Jessica glanced over her shoulder. "Hey, James," she's crying. Was she crying for me? It didn't matter. It had nothing to do with me anymore. As soon as we got back to my apartment, Jessica started grilling me. Okay, what is the deal with you and Ava Sterling? Did you two have a thing? I mean, it makes sense you'd know her. She's a huge name in the New York business world. She mumbled around a lollipop. She's a shark in business, but her personal life is a total train wreck. James, seriously, stay away from her. It's not worth it. I just focused on folding the new clothes. I won't. I was done with her for good. That night, Jessica made me watch horror movies with her until well after midnight. By the time she went to bed, I was too wired to sleep. Just as I was finally drifting off, I fell into a nightmare. In my dream, I was right back at the beginning, the day the system first appeared. I was so full of hope back then, fresh out of Parsons with top honors. I was passionate, driven, and determined to become one of the best designers in the world. But every bit of that talent and ambition was systematically destroyed, all because the system gave me a single command. If you want to live, you will do exactly as I say. It was like my entire life, a perfect mirror, was smashed into a million pieces. I was forced to abandon my dreams, my dignity, my self-respect. I had to become a doormat, all for the system's twisted amusement. It would constantly whisper in my mind, brainwashing me. Complete the mission, and you'll have more money than you could ever spend. Isn't that better than slaving away at a job? Dreams? Dreams are worthless. I would spend hours sketching designs in secret, only to tear them up one by one. It was the only way to vent my frustration. My life felt like a stagnant pool of water. No matter how I struggled, I could only create a few ripples that would quickly disappear. I tried to fight back, of course. And what happened? A freak accident, a sudden, debilitating illness. One disaster after another, each one bringing agonizing pain. And as soon as I recovered, it would happen all over again. In the end, I had to accept my reality. To hell with my dreams. Survival was all that mattered. And so, I began to pursue Ava Sterling, just as the system commanded. At first, she wouldn't give me the time of day. I showed up at her office with a bouquet of roses to ask her out, and she just stared at me, her cold gaze making my blood run cold. She was only 3 years older than me, but standing in front of her, it felt like we were from different planets. I shivered. Finally, she spoke. You say you like me. Why? Her question caught me off guard. Why? The real answer was to stay alive, but I couldn't say that. I had to lie through my teeth. Because I admire you. She looked at me like I just told the world's worst joke, her eyes filled with scorn. How old are you? 22. I meant, how old is it? She said slowly, gesturing toward my crotch. I was so stunned I could barely breathe. I never would have guessed this was her style. On the outside, she was all ice and impossible to get close to, but underneath, she was completely shameless. My first attempt ended in total, abject humiliation. I practically ran away. The second time I tried, I gave her a diamond ring. It cost $2,000, which was basically every cent I had in my name. I will never forget the look she gave me when she saw it. Pure, unadulterated disgust. She clearly thought the ring was cheap trash, but she took it anyway and slipped it on her finger. Then she looked at me and said coolly, "If you like me that much, should we get a hotel room? I want to date you," I said. Date me? Ava twisted the ring on her finger, a slow smile spreading across her face. All right. That night, she took me to a hotel. But when I woke up the next morning, she was gone. I went to her office building in Midtown to look for her, but security wouldn't let me pass the lobby. I went to call her and realized I didn't even have her phone number. So I waited outside her building from morning until night. When she finally emerged, I started to walk toward her, planning to ask her to a movie, but then I saw she was arm in arm with another man. You said you'd date me, I reminded her. She just smiled. We did. Yesterday. Yesterday? How could she call one night a relationship? That's not right, I said like an idiot. That's not how dating works. She just laughed and patted my shoulder. Don't be so greedy, kid. After that, I kept trying. I brought her gifts. I begged her to give me a real chance. Finally, she couldn't be bothered to keep saying no, so she reluctantly agreed. Fine, we'll give it a try. She still went out every night, drinking and networking with a rotating cast of men. The only difference was that now, she would occasionally squeeze me in for a date. One time, she was in a meeting about a design-related project, and she brought me along. When they started discussing the proposal, I casually pointed out a few fundamental flaws in their design. The other designer immediately blew up, calling me an arrogant kid who didn't know what he was talking about. He sneered and said, "If you're just here to be arm candy, then just stand there and look pretty. Don't get in the way." It was the first time I'd ever seen Ava truly lose her temper in public. She had security escort the man out of the building and announced that she would never, ever do business with his firm. After he was gone, she picked up the proposal, which was covered in my notes and corrections. She studied it for a moment, then looked at me. "Your instincts are good, James. You have real talent." How ironic. I was forced to be her doormat just to stay alive, and here she was, the one person who actually recognized my ability. A wave of bitterness and helplessness washed over me. She frowned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said, shaking my head. She smiled and leaned in to kiss me. "You have real talent," she said softly. "You're not just a pretty face, and you're not someone who has to sell himself to get by." She held up her hand, showing off the cheap ring I'd given her. "See, we're dating now, aren't we?" I still remember her words from that day perfectly. For a little while after that, I almost convinced myself that being with her wasn't so bad after all. She understood my work, my ambition. I started to wonder if I'd misjudged her, if maybe there was a good person under that cold exterior. But reality came crashing down and shattered that fantasy soon enough. Just when I thought Ava and I were finally getting closer, I came home and found her in our bed with another man. I had already moved into her apartment by then. I was walking up to the door, carrying a bag of groceries, rambling on about my day. The second I pushed the door open, I saw it, clothes scattered all over the floor, and Ava, wearing nothing but lingerie, in bed with a shirtless guy. She saw me and didn't even look surprised. She just crooked a finger, beckoning me over. I forced my anger down, walked to the kitchen to put down the groceries, then came back and stood in front of her. "Ava, what the hell am I to you?" I demanded. "Am I your toy? Or am I just what that designer said I was? A piece of meat you bought?" She nonchalantly picked up a cherry from the nightstand and fed it to the guy next to her. "You can be whatever you want to be," she said without looking at me. The same woman who had praised my talent was now grinding it into the dust with her own hands. "Ava, are you like this with every guy?" "Of course not," she said with a small, cruel smile. "I did agree to date you, after all." She leaned in, as if to kiss me, and I jerked my head away. "James, do you really take yourself so seriously?" She sneered. "Back then, when that designer insulted you, I only defended you because you were with me, and I didn't want to be embarrassed. Did you honestly think it was because you were special? And now you're here, acting all high and mighty, like you're above all this?" Her eyes were dripping with contempt. "Do you have any idea how pathetic you look? Those design ideas of yours? They're worthless. What else can you do besides please me in bed? Do you actually think you're some kind of genius? Did you really believe you were good enough to make someone like me loyal to you? I told you from the very beginning. We were just giving it a try to..." With those words, she completely shattered me. She grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at her. "James, from start to finish, you have always been just one of my many pathetic little simps. Just a few minutes ago, I was yelling at her. Logically, she should have just thought I was angry. Why did she think I was sad? I don't know what that woman, Ava, did to you, or what happened between you two," Jessica said softly. "But James, that's all in the past now." She gently rested her forehead against mine. "It's all going to be okay. Every nightmare ends. And when this one does, you're going to shine. It's okay, she whispered, patting my back gently like you were a small, hurt child. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. The next day, I attended a gala at the Met. As luck would have it, Ava was there. And so was the senior designer who had once called me arm candy for sale. He recognized me instantly. "Well, look what we have here. The little puppy is off his leash. Where's your master?" He looked down his nose at me, tapping his champagne flute against mine. "You must have tagged along with Ava to plenty of these parties. Still trying to pretend you're not just a pretty face? You think you'd ever get into a place like this without her?" He raised his voice, and soon a small crowd had gathered to watch the show. the air filled with snickers, cold stares, and mocking whispers. I calmly pulled my invitation from my jacket pocket and held it out to him. Mr. Samuels, perhaps you should take a closer look. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Sam just snorted and rolled his eyes. So you have an invitation. I'm sure Ava pulled some strings. Actually, the invitations for this event were non-transferable and issued based on individual merit. I wasn't anyone's plus one. I walked in here on my own 2 feet with my own invitation. I looked him straight in the eye. Mr. Samuels, I've shown you the proof, yet you're still convinced I'm just some freeloader. That says a lot more about your character than it does about mine. A perspective like that is certainly unique. I had called him out in front of everyone. Sam, not having a comeback, just mumbled something and scurried off toward the restrooms. But the damage was done. The whispers and pointed looks continued. James, maybe you should just go, Ava said, putting on a concerned face. It's only going to get more awkward for you if you stay. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? I said, taking a calm sip of my wine. It's a little late to pretend you're on my side now, Miss Sterling. My boss, Mr. Evans, who had been standing nearby, snatched the glass from my hand. James, is that any way to speak to Miss Sterling? Haven't you caused enough of a scene tonight? All eyes were on me again. Suddenly, I was the villain. I heard people whispering that I was a shameless social climber, that I was arrogant and ungrateful to the woman who had supposedly made my career. But everything I had achieved, I had earned myself through my own hard work. It had nothing to do with Ava. How had I become the shameless one, the arrogant one, the ungrateful one? The weight of their judgment was suffocating. Just then, a powerful voice cut through the noise. Who was giving my guest of honor a hard time? An elderly gentleman with a cane made his way through the crowd, followed by a beaming, mischievous-looking young woman. It was Jessica. The old man, Mr. Thorne, swept his sharp gaze across the room, and an immediate silence fell. Jessica peeked out from behind him and gave me a little wave. Ava watched the scene unfold, her expression growing darker by the second. She said nothing, just took a large gulp of her wine. Mr. Miller is here as my personal guest, Mr. Thorne announced, his voice quiet but carrying across the silent room. And I assure you, it took a great deal of effort to persuade him to attend. A man I had to personally convince to return from Europe. And you people have the audacity to humiliate him? He stopped in front of my boss, Mr. Evans. The founder of the Watson Design House is working for your firm, and you have the nerve to shout at him? Evans, Mr. Thorne said coolly, are you trying to get blacklisted in this industry? My boss froze, staring at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. The people around us were equally stunned. After a long moment, Mr. Evans stammered, the founder of Watson? He turned to me. James, why didn't you ever say anything? If I'd known who you were, I never would have hired you. I must have been completely blind. Ava was in a state of shock. For the first time, the look in her eyes wasn't scorn, but something far more complex and unreadable. Holy crap, James, you're the founder of Watson. Jessica whispered in my ear. That's even cooler than my grandpa. I seriously hit the jackpot with you. I shot her a look and chuckled. You talk too much, you little troublemaker. Be quiet for a second. Then I turned to face the silent crowd, my voice calm and steady. Since there seems to be a misunderstanding, allow me to introduce myself properly. Tonight's gala was co-hosted by Mr. Thorne and myself. I won't bore you with the details of the brand I founded, as I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. Watson has primarily focused on the European market until now, but starting today, we are shifting our focus back to the U.S. and entering into a deep partnership with Thorne Industries. I look forward to potential collaborations with many of you here tonight. The entire room was silent. All the whispers and gossip had vanished. After the gala, Jessica wouldn't leave my side. Wow, she gushed. You are on a whole other level. Use your words, Jessica. She just giggled. James, I really like you. I just laughed and shook my head. What goes on in that head of yours? I thought you were running from your grandfather. Why would you go right back to him? Weren't you afraid he'd try to force you into that marriage? Of course I was scared, Jessica pouted. But then I heard Ava Sterling was going to be here, and I got worried about you. I just felt better being here with you. We walked side by side under the streetlights of Central Park South, our shadows stretching out long behind us. I even had a backup plan, she said. I was going to tell my grandpa I was already in love with someone. I'm his only granddaughter, after all. He couldn't be cruel enough to force me, right? And who is it that you're in love with? I asked. Jessica stopped walking, and her face flushed. You're so annoying sometimes, James. You know that? Am I? Yes. I just laughed and messed up her hair. But I guess I don't have to worry about that anymore, she said, rubbing her hands together with a sly grin. You know, a business merger through marriage doesn't sound so bad after all. What do you say? You interested? She had barely finished her sentence when a voice from behind us called my name. It was Ava. Jessica and I exchanged a look, and she instinctively tightened her grip on my hand. I gave her hand a reassuring pat. Jessica took the hint. She leaned in and whispered, I'll wait for you over by that streetlight. Find me when you're done, and we'll walk home together. Okay, I agreed. After Jessica had walked a little ways off, Ava finally worked up the nerve to approach me. About tonight, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to be embarrassed like that. It's fine, I said. It doesn't matter anymore. You're just as brilliant as you always were. Thanks. Ava was clearly struggling to make conversation. After a moment, she gave up on small talk and cut straight to the chase. Can we go back to the way things were? The way things were? I asked. Ava, when was there ever a before for us? James, she said, grabbing my arm. Please, don't be like this with me. Ava, you should probably back off. Jessica is watching. Her hand went stiff, and she slowly let go. We just stood there, facing each other, the faint city dust swirling in the lamplight around her. We stared at each other for a long time before she finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Don't you love me anymore? It was a strange question. I wasn't even sure if I had ever truly loved her to begin with. How could I possibly answer if I still loved her? That was a conversation we should never have been having. Ava, I think it's time to end this, I said. I spent 5 years as your doormat. I'll let you grind my self-respect into the dirt. Do you have any idea what that was like? I am sorry. I don't need your apology. I cut her off. The only reason I'm even talking to you right now is to get closure. I took a deep breath. For a long time, I couldn't even stand the thought of you. Just seeing your face made me feel like I was suffocating. But now, I think I'm ready to move on. As for how you feel about me, I don't know, but I'm certain it isn't love. When I left, all you lost was a toy you'd gotten bored of. But now I'm back, and I have things you want, so you're jealous. You always want more. Ava, you're so selfish. And honestly, you're pathetic. If it wasn't for Jessica, I might have been stuck in your shadow forever. But I've moved on now. So please, stop following me. Stop trying to make me miserable. Goodbye, Ava. I turned to walk away, but Ava jumped in front of me, blocking my path. You think you can just say it's over, and that's it? She grabbed the front of my shirt. James, you're the one who came after me. You're the one who started this. And now you're just going to walk away and leave me here. You're right. I never should have pursued you. That was my mistake, I admitted. But are you going to pretend that the things you did to me were okay? Neither of us has clean hands here. So no, we can't just let this go. Ava completely lost it. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her voice was a desperate plea. But you used to love me, didn't you? Can't we just start over? Please. For her to beg like this, over a toy she used to play with so carelessly, it must have cost her a lot. Start over. I repeated. Even a dog would know better than to take that deal. I told you before. For us, there was never a beginning to go back to. I walked right past her, toward Jessica, not giving Ava another chance to stop me. On the walk home, Jessica held my hand tightly. You know, she said, when she grabbed your shirt back there, my heart was pounding. Why? I was afraid she was going to steal you away from me. She can't, I said. I trust you, she replied. That's why I just stood there and waited quietly for you to come back to me. She leaned her head against my shoulder as we walked. What are you doing? Are you a cat? I teased. No, you're just not very romantic, she retorted. The moonlight cast a silver glow on the sidewalk. With Jessica laughing beside me, walking through that soft light, it felt like time had slowed down, peaceful and safe. Ava's perspective. Today, a boy confessed his feelings for me. He walked right up to me, holding a bouquet of roses. He smiled as he handed them to me and said he liked me. Of course I was happy, but he obviously didn't recognize me. To him, the day he asked me out was the first time we had ever met. But the truth is, we had met long before that. I was always a straight-A student, but everyone around me always said it didn't matter how smart a girl was. My parents died when I was young. The only person I had was my grandmother, who raised me by collecting cans and bottles. The neighbors were always whispering behind our backs. Their words were like little knives, stabbing at me over and over. But I was stubborn. I skipped 2 grades and got into the best magnet school in the city. I buried myself in my books for 3 years, but there was this heavy weight in my chest that I could never get rid of. It felt like I was suffocating. Senior year, the summer was brutally hot, and the sound of the cicadas was maddening. I went up to the school roof for some air, and that's where I ran into a boy from the junior high. Our high school and junior high shared campus. "Are you up here to watch the clouds, too?" he asked me. The clouds. Yeah, all the different kinds. I wonder what it would feel like if you could wear them like clothes. "You like design?" I asked. "Yeah, you're in the high school, right? Not many people come up here. You're not here to jump because of exam stress, are you?" "What? I'm just kidding." He tilted his head back to look at the sky, shielding his eyes from the sun. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "Why are you asking?" "Well, you're in high school. You got to have a dream, right?" "I do," I said. My grandma always told me there was no future for me in our small town, that I had to make it in a big city. That way, no one could ever look down on me again. "I want to be my own boss." "Oh," he said, "you'll definitely do it. How can you be so sure?" "I don't know. You just seem like the kind of person who makes things happen." And now, here he was standing in front of me, holding a bouquet of roses, telling me he liked me. Did he really not remember me at all? I stared at him until he started to look uncomfortable. Then I finally looked away. So, he really had forgotten. I could tell instantly that he wasn't being sincere. To him, I was a total stranger, yet he was claiming to like me. If it wasn't love at first sight, there was only one other explanation. He wanted something from me. What was it? Money? Status? What happened to all that earnest talk about his dreams on the rooftop all those years ago? I took the flowers, but I didn't give him an answer. Instead, I flirted with him, teased him, said something provocative. Just as I expected, he got scared and ran off. I hummed to myself all the way home. I put the roses in a vase, their fragrance so sweet it was almost sickening. It was a shame the boy who gave them to me wasn't the same person anymore. The second time James asked me out, he gave me a ring. The style was horribly outdated. Even the old women in my neighborhood wouldn't have worn it. But I knew he had saved up every penny he had to buy it for me. And for that, I loved it. So I agreed to give it a try. I took him to a hotel that night, told him I was going to take a shower, and that he should wait for me in bed. His face turned bright red. He looked so nervous and innocent. It was actually very cute. The next day, he came looking for me. I was so happy to see him. But then, I overheard some people talking. They said he was only with me for my money. At first, I didn't care. If he wanted money, I had plenty to give. But then I heard something else. A rumor that James already had a girlfriend. I started to have doubts. Was he just using me? So I decided to play a part. I became this wild, promiscuous woman, using that facade to push him away. It was only later that I found out it was all a misunderstanding. So I pulled him back in, agreeing to officially date him. I knew he didn't really love me, so I always kept him at arm's length. He didn't understand what was going on in my head. I didn't understand his world. There's always this chasm between us that we could never cross. During that business meeting, when James pointed out all the flaws in that design, his talent was on full display for everyone to see. And I started to paint. If he was only with me for the money, what would happen when other people started to see his talent? When the world was at his feet, when he didn't need my money or my connections? What would I be to him? I was selfish. I would rather he stay in my shadow forever than watch him. So I tore down his confidence. I belittled his talent, humiliated him on purpose, and tried to destroy him, piece by piece. I told him he didn't have to do anything but stay with me and look pretty. I built my walls higher and higher until I became someone even I didn't recognize anymore. I started acting like I was crazy. I brought other men back to our apartment and kissed them right in front of him. I wanted him to think I didn't need him, to make him afraid of losing me. It was all so disgusting. With every cool thing I did, I hated myself. Kissing those other men made me sick to my stomach. Then, James proposed. I was so incredibly happy, but I forced myself to act coy. I told him I needed a few days to think about it. But when I was finally ready to say yes, I saw him. He was standing on a street corner, talking to another woman. Was he just giving her directions? Were they just acquaintances? Or was it a date? In that instant, all my joy turned to irritation. I couldn't bring myself to say yes anymore. If I agreed too easily, would he stop trying? I couldn't let him think I was an easy conquest. So I turned him down again, pretending it was all just a flirty game. But something was different this time. A real, unbridgeable distance opened up between us. When I got home, the apartment was empty. He'd never done that before, not after any of our fights. This time, he was just gone, without a note, without a word. I couldn't reach him. I had no idea where he'd gone. It was like he had just vanished into thin air. He had left me completely alone. What was I supposed to do? Try to go look for him, but I was buried in work at the office. Maybe I should just wait. Maybe he was just angry and needed to cool off. And just like that, 3 years went by without a single word between us. The next time I saw him, he was a senior designer. He had finally stepped into the spotlight he deserved, where everyone could see how brilliant he was. He would have so many admirers, so many people chasing after him. His future would be golden. He was center stage, under the spotlight, and I was watching from the shadows, getting further and further away. The ridiculous thing was, part of me was so proud of him, but the other part was terrified of his success. How could I feel both things at once? Just as I feared, there was another girl. She was younger than me, prettier than me, and most importantly, she was purer than me. I envied her simplicity, her innocence. I, on the other hand, had clawed my way up through her. I was stained in ways that could never be washed clean, but I still couldn't let him go. How could I just watch as this girl snatched away the man I had worked so hard to shape, to keep? I swallowed my pride and went to him. I begged him, can we please start over? He refused without a moment's hesitation. Maybe to him, there was never any love between us to begin with. So how could we start over? The whole idea was a cosmic joke. I watched him turn his back on me. I was standing under a street light, and she was standing under another one down the path. And James walked straight to her, without a single glance back. In the end, I was alone. This is more than a story of revenge. It's one of self-redemption. James's victory was in reclaiming his dignity, while Ava's tragedy was born from the fear that made her push love him. The core of the story is this: true love should nurture you, not drain you. In the end, judgment isn't for the one who loved humbly, but for the one who recklessly squandered sincere hope. May you find the courage to walk away and become your own life, for that is the source of a strength that will never fade.